Okay, you see the title of this? This is occultations by Centaurs, TNOs, and special main belt asteroids during the rest of 2023, and by Trojan asteroids in 2023 and early 2024.
It's visible.
Okay, great. First, just some motivation for doing these special events. As Dave pointed out, they're usually more difficult, but we get high science return. So I pointed out that IOTA, got the first unequivocal observations of occultation by the nucleus of a comet in February last year. 3 observers in Europe got these observations of the comet Nugman 1, 28P Nugman 1. But then now another object, considered a comet called 29P, Schwarzmann-Wachmann 1. We've been trying to observe occultations by it for years. Well, we finally succeeded late last year, as Norm Carlson pointed out. There was a first on December 4th, the first occultation by this object was observed at the SOAR telescope in Chile, allowing Lucky Star to update the orbit accurately. Before that, there were 2 predictions, which were about 400 kilometers apart. For this, we didn't know which one was right. This showed that the southern of those predictions was correct, and so they issued this prediction showing that the path for December 19th occultation was passed over the San Diego area in northern Mexico. Anyway, 2 of our IOTA observed, Norm and Bob Jones, traveled into this path and got the occultation successfully. There were also a couple of EV scope observations, but they had less timing accuracy, aren't shown here. But also, Mark Bowie knew about this event, and so he at the last minute managed to get 2 of the recon telescopes. The recon systems are 11-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes that have been set up at observatories at schools in the rain shadow of the Cascades from border to border. But with a few of them in California and Arizona and more in Nevada and especially Oregon and Washington. But they can also take these telescopes portably, which they've been doing. They did them for the, started doing that now for the Trojan asteroid occultations. And 2 of them also got cords on this event. And Mark Bowie showed me a plot. He's able to get an elliptical fit of the 4 cords, nice elliptical fit to them, but he hasn't published that yet. Hopefully they will do that before long, and we'll have it in our database. But since we have these observations, we've already collapsed the error in the ephemeris so that we can now predict occultations just using the JPL elements quite well for this object. It's not really a comet wiggling around a lot like people think, even though it's quite active. It's a large object. It's about 60 kilometers across. It's orbiting about 6 AU in an almost circular orbit, so 1 AU beyond Jupiter. It's thought to be a transition object between a Centaur, very large Centaur, and the Jupiter family comet. This would be one hell of a comet, of course, once it gets to that point. But in the meantime, it does have outbursts where it brightens up to about 13th magnitude every 10 or 2 weeks or so, something like that. Anyway, Mark did publish on There were other events observed. The December 29th event, Adam Nicholson observed it near Roswell, New Mexico, and Richard Nugent also saw it in Central Texas, but had an equipment failure and wasn't able to get a recording. But that plus the December 4th and the December 19th event allowed an accurate prediction for this occultation on January 28th this year. And so Mark Bowie at Sweary mounted a multi-station mobile effort with recon systems in eastern Washington state. This is from his abstract for the ACM, but it was not included in his e-poster. So this should not be shared until it is published somewhere else by him. Note that this effort that he did was sort of remarkable. He got 7 teams set up, and it was only a week before the huge, almost 100-station Pullemele effort in Kansas, a week later. Next slide, this shows occultations by distant objects for the rest of 2023 in North America. I have some individual slides on these, so I'll just show this quickly, but you can see there's this event by KBOs. The prediction I got from the JPL ephemeris was obviously an error. It was in the luck, and so I've tried to draw in the lucky star prediction here. But one of the things I'd like to do is to get a way of ingesting lucky star orbital elements into the user.dat file. I think Dave Galt has a way of doing that. And we got to do that for events like this, for KBOs to take advantage of the orbit that Lucky Star publishes with their predictions. They publish their orbits and their uncertainties and everything. Anyway, with their occultations by the Titania, the largest moon of Uranus, in a wide path crossing over much of the country, U.S. and southern Canada. And then there on November 25th, there's an occultation by Titan, an even larger shadow. It's visible everywhere north of this southern limit line. We have Quar, has been great interest. We have an event for it, but it's sort of squeezed by sun altitude and low altitude. And this object, 2013 LU-28, is a Damocloid asteroid. It's one of the most distant TNOs, but it has a perihelion coming up, I think 2030 or so. And so we are getting occultations by it. It's passing through the Milky Way conveniently too, or so. So it's anyway, but the uncertainty in this orbit is quite large. You'll see that later. And we have 2 events where we have this one on December 30th, possibly visible near Bermuda. I'll just go through. This is the table that goes with that, the distant objects chart. And here's the Trojan asteroids chart, where I've underlined the ones with Lucy target objects. We have 2 of Lucas and 1 of Oris in the northern part of the country, and then 1 over Mexico and just the southernmost part of Texas with Lucas again. And there are other interesting Trojan asteroid events. The Pullemele ones are past now, but Hector on August 12th, passing right over Phoenix area. It's a nice 9.6 magnitude star. So we're looking forward to doing that event. We can use small telescopes for that. Hector is an interesting object. It's the largest Trojan asteroid. It's known to be a bilobe object with different chemical compositions on the 2 ends. It also has a moon whose path doesn't cross North America, though, for that event. Um, okay, this shows the table of that event. And now for other Lucy target occultations, SWRI has on their prediction website has events in early 2024 with an occultation by Horus here on January 9th, going over southern Georgia and northern Florida. And then on March 26th, an occultation by Euripides over New York and southern New England. But then the biggie is the Polemli event next year that goes over Baja California on March, or no, it's, where did I put the date on the, oh, there it is on 2024, February 26th. The path is, you can see is going over there, but he's plotted, these aren't error bars. These are errors where the satellite shone might occult the star. So what Mark Bowie wants to do is to try to get 50 stations set up across that, and he's taking volunteers now to join for this effort. And we're collaborating closely with the observers in Mexico who are forming now their own occultation network. I gave a paper about that at the ACM. They have a few systems that they can send around the country to observatories that don't have proper cameras, which most observatories don't have. I think that sort of thing is something we should do more of in the US as well, is to have a set of kits that we can send for important events where we don't have an IOTA presence. And maybe one IOTA person can travel there with 10 cameras and that can be set up on local observers' telescopes. And this shows another event on March 25th with Euripides again. Oh, this shows this one. It just goes across the country, but this just shows the detail of the northeastern U.S. for the sake of the Pennsylvania talk I gave. Anyway, the satellite of Arecibo was discovered in 2021, as we all know. And so it's one of the special main belt asteroids for which I have predictions. They're published in the RASC Observer's Handbook and also given on this website. Showing the events coming up. I'll just let you look at this a little bit, and they have some individual occult maps for some of the events. So we'll be trying this Barbara event on July 25th if the weather permits. And there's another one that's the Barbara is a bilobed asteroid that we discovered was heart-shaped that we got from an occultation in 2009 around the IOTA meeting that year. But another event in the central part of the country with the 11th magnitude star, which will be good. This one's 12th. But anyway, just go on. There's a list of the table for them. And this shows the Barbara event. It's clear enough. We hope to observe it from 3 stations, and hopefully we can get some other people to join it, in our mobile effort to observe this. But this shows where other people have a chance to observe. Finally, I found this event with Ixion with a 14th magnitude star passing over the telescope-rich parts of Chile. So maybe I'm sure Lucky Star knows about this and probably has got some people out there trying to observe it. And then we have an occultation by Biener on July 31st, which Rodriguez Lieva sent a message out this morning about it, but I was able to compute this prediction with the orbit in the JPL database, which is pretty good, but Lucky Star has smaller errors on it. And this shows the Lucky Star prediction then of that same path. So it's quite similar to my horizons-based prediction, but with much smaller errors. Next, on August 1st, there's an occultation visible just from Turkey and part of Eastern Europe. An occultation of a 11.7 magnitude star by the asteroid Europa. Well, normally, or not by the moon, Galilean moon Europa. Normally, these events aren't observable because of the overwhelming brightness of the satellite. But it just happened that at the time of this occultation, it's the satellite is in eclipse by Jupiter. So the asteroid itself, or the moon itself, will be very dark. So just nominally, we put 16th magnitude in to get a reasonable magnitude drop, but it could be even fainter. So anyway, just go on quickly. There's the Hector event that I mentioned, called map, seeing the twilight and squeezed by twilight and altitude, but it's a pretty good combination in Phoenix before nautical twilight begins. So Skylum should be dark enough. And next slide, here's a difficult event with 2013 LU-28, this strange nomocclade distant object with pretty large uncertainties passing possibly over southern England and part of France and Ireland. And here's another, the August 21st Barbara occultation, showing it passes over Salina, where we observed both of the Ptolemaic occultations ourselves, tried to observe them anyway, and both early this year and early last year, and near where Tony George discovered Sean. Next slide, this shows the Donald Johnson event coming up. This is the Lucy mission main belt target, but it's pretty small and the errors are fairly large. But maybe observers from Calgary or Edmonton might be able to do this one. And now this is an important event, end of August. It's the asteroid Justitia, and the path passes across Wyoming and most northern California, but it runs into twilight problems by the time it crosses the Mississippi River. But it's a very red main belt asteroid similar to KBOs, which it might have been once. And it's the final flyby target of the United Arab Emirates main belt asteroid tour. So observations of this are desired. In fact, they might even kick in some money or twist NASA's arm to get SWRI to possibly organize an expedition for it. So it would be good if a few IOTA observers could also get observations of this event. There's a Chiron event over South America. And then we have an occultation of a 7th magnitude star by Venus, but it's under very difficult conditions, visible only from the maritime provinces of Canada, and sort of Maine as a stretch for it. I'll be publishing a table of predictions for this. I already have it computed, but we have to post it though. We said we would on the RASC handbook, so we will do that, but not much value in this event relative to the asteroid ones. Here's the Patroclus occultation on September 22nd. Patroclus and Menoetius follow very similar paths, and there's a SWRI prediction which shows that. And John Broughton hopes to deploy some multiple stations for it. 11.7 magnitude star. Finally, September 28th, chaos. I had with that wiggly line. Here's a nice straight line now from the lucky star prediction for that event. My path for it is wrong, so get caution if you get the XML file for their webpage, and there's the URL for it to get the right information. Another event Dave Harold was interested in. This is one of the lowest numbered unobserved by occultations asteroid. So an event on September 27th over and my own asteroid. We tried one by it a couple of weeks ago, and the star was too marginal for most of us to observe. We got a couple of negative chords on it, but here's another chance. This is just a vanity occultations, though, so no special scientific value. But here's one over Northern California. Here's another Justitia occultation on November 14th over Florida. But it's only 15.2 magnitude. So this take really big scopes. At least it's a 4-second occultation, so you could use 1-second integrations, maybe just. And Arecibo has this. We don't have real good occultations in the U.S. We do have a couple that are shown on that map, but here's one on November 22nd, a nice one across Rome in parts of Italy. 13th magnitude, but the Arecibo is important to try to figure out since the Gaia has actually observed the wobble in Arecibo's orbit caused by the shift of the barycenter, the center of mass of the system, and showing the period of it is 1.3 days. So we didn't know that before, and so with that, we really determined the orbit of this well. The Gaia team, plus using the occultation observations in their data. This shows the occultation by Waiwat on November 23rd, seeing it's in twilight in Texas, but good for the Gulf Coast area. This is the large satellite of Quaoar, and there was another Waiwat occultation I think was observed a few weeks ago, so we might get an update on this. But it's there's been at least one other earlier one observed. So, and here's the Quaoar, the wider Quaoar path for that event, shining all of Florida and Louisiana to Alabama, but getting kind of low altitude and squeezed by some twilight in Texas. And here's the Titania occultation, nice high altitudes and everything. That will be good to get observations of that. I haven't figured out where it is relative to Uranus, so we'll have to make sure I don't think it's behind the planet or anything. I think we checked once. I think I have it mentioned in the RASC handbook. And here's the occultation by Titan. Just a 14th magnitude star, but those with large telescopes observing with methane band filters at the large observatories in the Southwest should try to get this event like they observed similar events back in the early part of this century, the 21st century. But here's the lucky star predictions for the 2013 LU-28 event across the northern part of the country. And we have an Aeschylus event across Japan and Korea, South Korea. And here's a 10th magnitude, a nice bright star by the asteroid 2002 YE25, which is the other binary asteroid discovered by the Noseworthy Gault team. And it's a small object, so it's the actual objects are two approximately 3-kilometer objects about 15 kilometers apart. And hopefully the Europeans will be, especially in Spain and Portugal, will be able to observe this. More difficult in Italy. It's a low altitude, but at least it's a nice, decently bright star. Next, we have this LU-28 occultation visible possibly from Bermuda. This shows the circumstances there, but event probably only 99%. If the moon will, near a bright gibbous moon will be 29 degrees distant, but the altitude will only be 3 degrees in Bermuda. It's just waning gibbous moon is just rising at the time, so probably not too much of a problem for them, even though that star is very faint, 15.8. But better is the path going across Scandinavia here with no altitude or sunlight problems, but still the moon. And just before I finish, I just want to mention that we also have lunar grazing occultations. We successfully observed the graze of 136 Tauri on May 22nd. The observations are being analyzed now. We had what we thought was a bit of a shift, but we maybe just weren't using the predictions right, so we're still investigating what happened there. But we got some good data, and Ted Blank did too. And I want to point out this grazing occultation of Antares on August 25th will be a spectacular event, dark limb event going across northern Florida. It's a gibbous moon, but it's well on the dark side, so you'll be able to see the disappearance of the primary red giant star and the greenish 5th magnitude companion star that's a couple of arc seconds away. Anyway, also remember the grazing occultation of the brightest star of all, the sun, occurring on October 12th, 14th. There's a lot of chatter on that in the solar eclipse mailing list, but we haven't mentioned with all these other things going on. We've been preoccupied with what we consider more important events. But here's a list of these, and there's a website where you can get the information. It's also in the RESC handbook. In conclusions, just kind of what I said, we encourage as many as possible to try these, and we want others to learn to make the necessary mobile observations, including molestation techniques that we pioneered to observe NEA and other occultations to support planetary defense and asteroid science. Maybe one day your observation might nail an NEA orbit well enough to determine its orbit well enough to either rule out an impact with the Earth, or at least narrow down the region where it might hit so that people can flee away from it. So anyway, that's the end of that talk. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so David, I noticed August 31st and September 1st. There's a couple of important events, and I think those are at the beginning of Labor Day weekend, or pretty close.
Uh-huh.
And so I've kind of got tacit approval to get the Cabrillo College van to maybe port me and my former student, who I keep emphasizing as a former student at the college, Kirk Bender, to go up to the Oregon border perhaps and try those. So I just want to be kept in the loop on those.
Okay. Yeah. This event is not on Preston's website yet, so we'll try to. It'll probably show up at least in the AZ feeds for so it should show up on OW once OW gets to, well, it should have it there now, I think, that hasn't been. And let's see, I think the other event,
Phaeton.
yeah, that, yeah, I don't think I have a slide of that, except I have the,
Yeah, you had a path somewhere. It was like hitting California, Oregon border.
oh, yeah, it's in the previous talk. Yeah, it's
Right.
in the near-Earth asteroids talk. Yeah. So,
Right. Well, now
yeah,
that I know, I can try and find it in OW cloud
right. And
if it's there.
if you go, it's also in the RASC Observer's Handbook. And if you go to the links to the, the special near-Earth asteroid, IOTA's near-Earth asteroid occultation page that I set up, you'll find it there too. And plus, all those pages also have the occult input files, which you can download, and then you can run them in your own occult and compute local predictions. So, okay.
Great.
This is Steve. David, if you'll let me know, just remind me on those events, I should tag those with the IOTA tag, and then they'll show up under the IOTA
Okay.
feed. I just need to tag them.
Right. Yeah. I'll send you the PDF of this presentation. I just finished it this morning. So.
Well, just remind me which events you want me to tag. Which are these?
Right.
September 1.
Yeah, I'll do that.
September 1 in particular. What was the other one?
This Justitia event on August 31st. But all of the Phaeton events that I had on that near Earth.
Right. Well, I can only tag ones that are near term, but I'll look at those. Okay. Yeah. Once you send me to me, I'll look. Okay.
Okay, good. I think you might already have some of the Phaeton events, since. I
probably do have some, but I'll make sure that they're all tagged.
Right. Yeah, the September 25th one, though, that's a new event that I didn't know about before, so maybe you didn't know about it either. But so that one's especially worth checking. Okay, we're a little bit behind, but I think the next talk probably won't take the 40 minutes allocated for it, so we'll try to finish it up in time. But let me up. It's generated a lot of interest in Europe, as you'll see why.
David, just a quick question.
Oh, yes.
When you mentioned the occultation by Polymele next year in February, I'm the one that is organizing along with Mark Buey the campaign here in Baja. So everyone is very welcome to come here and try the event.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll certainly want your help for traveling in Mexico. Very few of us travel across the border with some of the problems occurring there these days. So we'll welcome your help with that. And of course, any of you interested in that event should join the Luciox, the luciox.slack.com web channel, the Slack team that Mark Buey runs. And we have an IOTA channel there where we mention the events, the IOTA events that might be of interest to those people, especially the ones around Colorado and Recon and so forth. Anyway, and of course, I also urge, as I say, you can download the occult input files that I have posted to calculate your own local predictions for Mexico or anywhere in the world. Okay, with that, I think we will try to get on to this last of my talks. Slideshow beginning. Okay, yes. I think there are a few occultation observers who don't know that Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, however you pronounce it, or Alpha Orionis, is going to be occulted by the asteroid 319 Leona on December 12th this year. That's UT, so I think it's actually the evening of the 11th local time here, but it's later